Welcome ladies and gentlemen to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and we have got some team games. Since Red Bull Wallow Legacy, the players have actually assembled themselves into teams in preparation for the Winter Championships. And of course they'll be practicing, and we've got the Battle of Golden Swamp today, one of the new maps that are going to be showcased and featured in the Winter Championship hosted by EGC TV. But let's introduce the players, let's introduce the teams, because on the west side of this trio, in the south, we've got the Mista playing in blue as the Rus. In the pocket position, in the middle, we have got lucifron playing in purple as the Chinese. And on the east side of this team, this trio, will be Vortix, the other Spaniard of the two brothers, playing in cyan or teal as the English. Their opposition today on the west side of the trio will be Kasva playing in green as the Rus. And in the pocket position, in the middle, will be puppypaw playing in orange as the English. And on his right will be his brother Wham in yellow as the Holy Roman Empire. So as you can see, a lot of the civilization is very similar. Both teams actually have English and the Rus. But of course Wham playing as the Holy Roman Empire and lucifron as a Chinese. Very strong civilizations on Golden Swamp. If you've not seen this map before, it's certainly an interesting one. You've got this middle part which is actually, you can walk across this, as you can see the village are doing just that. The swamp marshland area where there's fish to be had. Shoreline fish in particular, and then in the middle there's huge amounts of deposits of gold. As you can see, there is a bit of gold there on the edges of the maps. Each player does have essentially 2 gold mines they can take, 4,000 each, but this is where the juicy gold is, in the middle, 8,000 gold. So I suspect both teams will want to get some keeps there and static defenses to protect that valuable resource. But you see fishing economy establishing itself. It's going to be tricky to actually see an overall picture in 3v3s and team games, but we can expect both flank players, Mista here in the west and Vortix on the east, being rather aggressive, you'd expect. With Vortix playing as the English and Mista being the Rus, they both obviously have that potential. And then lucifron playing in the middle as a Chinese, the sort of civilization and position that can boom up with the economy. And same can't be said. I mean, Wham playing as the Holy Roman Empire, probably the strongest economy in the team in the north, but he's actually playing on the flank there, so can be aggressive in the feudal age themselves, the Holy Roman Empire. There's certainly no slouches, and that eco can really back them up to do so. Talking about fishing, we're actually seeing puppypaw going for a different approach. He's going for villages on shore fish rather than investing in a dock, and that's rather interesting. Neither of the flank players actually going for docking here on the team in the north, and that's an interesting play. Mista also not opting for anything on the waters. Lucifron is actually docked there, and so has Vortix actually as well. So in the south they're playing a bit more of a macro eco approach, especially I expected lucifron to do so, being the pocket player in the middle. But rather interesting that I take it back, Wham has actually docked there on the east. Just didn't see it necessarily in the first instance, but yep, both teams have one player that haven't docked, so it looks like 2 players apiece on each team have docked, and will be contesting the waters in the middle. As we see a hunting cabin there on the west side. We do have Rus versus Rus on the west side of this golden swamp map. A couple of longbows going to be popping through from the middle as well. So essentially puppypaw going to be relatively aggressive despite being in the pocket position. As you can see, streaming those longbows across the map. We're looking to put some pressure here on Vortix. Vortix actually going for the Council Hall now as well, but it's going to be a bit late to that next stage. Of course, he invested in water, so he's got plenty of fishing ships up. Of course, that investment will pay for itself back quite nicely if it stays alive. The problem for him is got to be facing up, I guess quite a few longbows here. Might need to do something about that. Might be going for some man-at-arms. That's exactly what's happening. Yeah, so Vortix is going to be going for some man-at-arms. A nice play there, nice touch. Will do well against the longbows if they can catch up to them. That is, the kiting. I think it's going to be an issue here. Puppypaw going to want to hit and run with those longbows. As they're heading forward to the fishing ships now, it's got to be a bit careful here, Vortix, not to lose any fishing ships, ideally. Might need to garrison them inside the dock, but we shall see on the west side of the map. What do we see Mista being up to? Obviously known to be a very aggressive player, has got a stable on the field already. So does Kasva to match. So Mista and Kasva going up against each other. There's that wooden fortress coming for the Rus, boosting the wood income by 20%. That's dropped off of the lumber camp. Alright, an outpost going on this dock. Interesting strategy here by puppypaw. Wants to deny the fish, wants to nullify the investment that's been made, as the man-at-arms do try and push through, but don't think he's likely to have any sort of upgrades on this guy. So Oh, demo ship does come out, but doesn't get much value at all actually, and there's no iron undermesh there, understandably so. It's a bit too early, not enough gold there income for Vortex to afford that, and it does mean the man-at-arms aren't going to be doing so well against these longbows. The range for the longbows really help, and the fact that they can just hit and run it is very nice. But lucifron helping his teammate out, helping his brother out with a light junk there, or just a junk rather. There's a demolition ship coming in as well, explosive junk, looking to do some damage and cut off any units that try and traverse the marshland. Now this map does have its origins in Age of Empires 2, so if you have played that game before, this map will, be well aware of it. As the knight comes in for Kasva, going to be getting some raiding damage. We'll be picking off a villager there for the Mista, so expensive. He has also committed to that wooden fortress. May need to delete it as maybe the torches come out for that knight, and that's exactly what happens. Torches come out, Mista's not going to delete it, he's going to contest this with 2 knights of his own, and the villagers are going to pop out as well. As Kasva's got to be careful, he might not notice it. Charge tech goes off, and he'll be certainly losing that fight, and might even lose the knight if he's not paying attention. And he's not, so he's going to lose that knight now, you feel, and back at home he must have been macroing here, as he's gone for professional scouts. We've seen this before in team games where, professional scouts can be really quite useful because there's a lot of deer patches there to be had, and, once upon a time the Rus were known for their professional scouts play, and Kasva bringing it back as a meta maybe. We shall see. Of course, team games are very new here to Season 3, and strategies will be establishing themselves as we see Wham walling up the east side of the map. And a couple of knights there for Mista, looking to see what value they can get. Now, in team games, the map is pretty large, as you can see. Lots of ground to cover, as we see the longbows heading forward for puppypaw, going to put pressure there for Vortix. And Vortix doesn't quite have the numbers there, might lose a fishing ship or 2 if he's not careful. And that's going to be a bit of a loss for him. He's got 5 longbows there, but not clearly enough to go up against the 12. And fishing ships are having to retreat. They send 2 of them to try and garrison inside. They should make it through. Oh, might lose one there. He will lose a fishing ship. A couple of hulks coming out there for Vortex to defend that position. He needs to be careful not to lose too many more fishing ships. Very expensive investment being lost there. Puppypaw still settling on the shoreline fish with the villagers. We shall just see if any player has gone for a second town centre expand. I suspect not, considering both teams have been kind of aggressive, but on Golden Swamp, of course, investing in that water. And they're kind of like extra town centres in of themselves, really. Extra production of units and economy units as well. Blacksmith coming out for the English, so Vortex looking to get those all-important upgrades for his longbows. Knights are heading there towards get those puppypaw villas, and that's the concern for him. They're relatively exposed, they're having to run away, and there's quite a few of them being idle now. Army not really in position there for puppypaw. A couple of longbows going to try and delay things with the deployment of the palings, but he's managed to keep the villagers alive, at least for now, and it's actually a good trade in the end to lose those couple of longbows for the saving of those villagers. Certainly be the trade-off he would want from that situation. You see quite a lot of numbers of those longbows building up for puppypaw. You're looking to do some damage against the Hulk, and it looks like Golden Swamp really you have to play with the English on your team, really, because you look to get a lot of value, a lot of control here on the map. They can actually take relatively decent engagements against the Navy. As we see Barbican here coming for lucifron, will be activating the Song Dynasty. He does have 2 town centers as well, so lucifron's certainly playing the macro approach, and we've seen this in team games of Age of Empires too, that playing in the pocket position does give you the ability to boom behind this with economy, and even potentially sending resources to your teammates through the market. Loses a Hulk there, Vortex, and Puppypaw building up a bit of a force in the middle. Let's be careful not to run into those knights. Knights do take out the boar for the bounty more or less, and let's take a look at that situation. Actually, that's something we could have a look at. Bounty almost reached, well, it has already reached the 500 mark there for Mista. The economy is going to be looking very, very strong. Let's take a look at the Kasva, still on tier 2 only though. So Mista will certainly be ahead on that front, as we see a number of longbows coming forward now for Vortex. Has really built them up as a nice number of them. Defender's advantage, obviously replenishing the army or reinforcing the army very quickly. You see a couple of knights on the west side chasing those knights from the Mista down, and Kasva, if you can keep up to that, will do a lot of damage. But we do see a sprinkled ship there for the Chinese. Lucifron defending his mate, as we see lots more knights heading towards back to defend Mister's base. Walls are trying to be put up there, the palisade walls, but will be cut off and intercepted. I think kasva will notice that villager coming out that way, but where's that villager going off to actually? There's no attack move there. This one going to be trying to place a bit more aggressive walling, double walling there. Palisade walls in behind, and we see kasva just ignoring all of that and going through, and not necessarily a bad play, trying to catch his opponent out. If he did take out the villager, it would to give an attack notification, but of course Mister's well aware of the ruse, and there's that castle age for lucifron. Be packing a punch in that castle age. Wham already there as well as the Holy Roman Empire. No real surprises there, considering the civilization. He went up with the Regnus Cathedral, will mean he'll be able to pick up some relics, so it'll be helpful for that gold income as the game wears on. In the west now, the knights are looking to try and deny those walls. Doesn't quite actually spot the villager though. Oh, Mister continuing the chase, will be picking off one knight there that got left behind there for kasva. Loses one knight quite cheaply, does charge on the villager now and gets rid of that. And he heads back. 15 knights there for kasva, 13 for the Mister. Possibly could have taken that fight actually. But he does have quite a few really weak ones there, so all in all, good call there not to really engage, as we see knights coming out for Wham as well on the east side. We haven't checked up what's happening on the east for quite some time, as we see Vortix getting to the next stage as well. Wham could be trying to push the issue here. Spotting that Vortix just went up to the next stage, and be interesting to see if Wham does group up with puppypaw to take an engagement. Mostly a lot of spearmen there though, that won't do well against longbows, but the knights will. Knight's going to try and chop down some of these longbows as the man-at-arms and the spears behind for Wham trying to catch up. And Vortix going to bring the springled ship, will be getting some good damage on that knight. And kasva trying to pressure the issue here on the west. So kasva, puppypaw and Wham looking to try and pressure the issue and be pretty aggressive here as knights come in there for the Mister charges, but not enough of them. Where are the rest of them? That is the question. We did have a group of them, but they must have peeled off somewhere else, and there they are. That's where they peeled off to. They're going to the heart of the opponent. Puppypaw's base in the middle, pretty exposed now. Farming economy being very idled, and kasva just attacking the outpost of the wooden fortress, and Mister will be okay with that as long as he's not losing too many villagers. Speaking of losing villagers, he will lose a couple here on the retreat. Does have a couple of knights heading back home. Not enough though, of course, but he's doing critical damage, you feel, here in the base. Keeping a lot of the villagers there idled. Oh, a lot of villagers there in the middle there going for puppypaw. He wasn't protected. He didn't have the vision either. I didn't see any of that happening. Doesn't have any outposts, so he wouldn't have been able to see that. That was pretty rough. Quite a few villagers there idled there for kasva those. Clearly microing on the front lines, and he takes out the knights there for the Mister. Dives underneath the town centre. He does have the iron undermesh upgrade. Still in the feudal age though. They'll be trying to deny those villagers on gold as well, so looking pretty painful there for the Mister. He did lose a lot of villagers here, although he took a lot of that villagers out for puppypaw. Vortix engaging with the army from lucifron, taking out. Looks like puppypaw's army there went down. Yeah, it does. A lot of puppypaw's longbows dead in the ground, and that's pretty puppypaw really bearing the brunt of the damage here. Mister bringing those knights again. Holy Roman Empire trying to protect him. Wham trying to send some reinforcements, but doesn't seem to be all that much at the moment. Vortix sending another group of army here. Now maybe look to pressurize the situation with Wham's side of things. And lucifron and Vortix really playing this together. The two Spaniards, the two brothers, whereas Mister and kasva really going toe to toe. Looks like kasva's winning a lot of that fight, but don't forget Mister was harassing here quite some time, and it still is actually. A lot of villagers there. 19 of them completely idled. Mister getting a lot of value. Not so much just killing villagers, he has been doing that, but he's also been causing a lot of idle time. Picking off a couple of stray knights there. Knights there for kasva, doing a lot of damage to static defenses, but taking a lot of losses and damages in the meantime. But Mister really has two groups of knights, one back at home, one being aggressive. A lot of weak knights here for the Mister. Got to be careful not to lose them too easily. Wham getting to the Imperial Age now as the Holy Roman Empire. Going to be getting that the Palace of Swabia, no doubt. And with the Imperial Age units, that could be incredibly strong, as we see now kasva getting to the Castle Age. And this could be what turns the tide of the fight, because Wham, if he gets Imperial Age units, that could be a game changer. Speaking of game changing, Vortix being relatively aggressive here now. He knows that the Holy Roman Empire has gone to the Imperial Age. He won't let them get those upgrades, at least wants to do some damage before they do, and you see lucifron doing some damage with his cavalry as well. Mobility is certainly helpful in team games. Longbow's pressurizing those knights. Certainly the two Spaniards are going for the Holy Roman Empire. Picks off a knight there very nicely. If really Vortix needs to take care of those spearmen if he can. That gives lucifron the ability to pressurize a little bit more. Man-at-arms coming in there for Vortix as well. Man-at-arms, longbows, very powerful combination. As we see a lot of fishing ships coming here for lucifron, making his way across that golden swamp. That's a huge amount of economy there coming in for him. Big economy. Let's take a look at the income per minute. Look at that, almost 2,000 food per minute for lucifron. Absolutely amazing. He's playing the Chinese as well, so undoubtedly going to have a lot of villagers. As palace guards catching up to the knights there for kasva. Kasva will lose that army, and I have to say he didn't get that much value. He got a lot of static defenses down. He did take a couple of villagers, but it wasn't sort of dead on to those villagers, just as the mist was able to. There's the King's Palace. Could be puppypaw to the next stage now, going to the Castle Age. 17 minutes on the clock. Holy smokes, team games are absolutely nuts. And see the engagement here on the east side. Wham, under all sorts of pressure. Despite getting to the Imperial Age, he is under the pressure here, under the thick of it because of the vortix and lucifron being aggressive there in the Castle Age. The back of lucifron though, he's been relatively untouched up to now though. Kasva recognises that's a problem. Letting the Chinese boom up behind this is not a good idea, because that village count is likely to be very, very high. You can see we've got 56 economy for kasva. Let's just take a look at lucifron. Look at that, 113 villagers. He'll lose a couple of villagers, but he won't mind. Look at the stream of army coming across here for Vortix, completely ignoring the fact there's a galley there. Doesn't need to worry about that at all. It's flooding the base there. Wham, under all sorts of pressure. Lucifron and Vortix really doubling up on Wham. And Mista had a lot of damage here on the base of puppypaw. Lucifron sending a couple of palace guards there for going up against the English, and puppypaw struggling to defend that position as well. And looks like the game might be heading to a close here, because there's a lot of pressure coming in from the south to the north. Kasva is starting to try and build up an army there, but not all that many on the field, and it looks like certainly the ascendancy is coming in from the south. The southern team, Vortix, Lucifron and the Mista, looking incredibly strong here, completely surrounding the base here for Wham. Does have a cannon in place in that outpost, but it's not really protecting them all that much. That gold has gone from that position, and they'll have map control. They'll have control of the center where all the other gold is. And without gold, that's going to be a problem for Wham to come back into this game. Going to lose those couple of knights. They're fighting off though. What streaming through? Spearmen are heading towards that outpost. They're going to be completely decimated by that cannon emplacement. The longbow is going to be mopping up everything that gets left behind. Making a move here in the middle. Council looking to take out some villagers there. There's no one there. Probably a lumber camp. But certainly everyone focusing here on the east, at least from Vortix and Lucifron's perspective, and they're just camping underneath the Palace of Swabia, and they're causing so much idle time. That's a key difference in this game. Not so much just always killing villagers, but also causing a lot of idle time. As you can see, the Palace Guards doing the same here in the base of puppypaw, and you get the feeling that might be calling it a day. Oh my god, Lucifron denying a keep there for kasva. So all three players there in the north under a little bit of pressure from everywhere. But yeah, certainly Wham bearing the brunt of it. And how does he stop this? There's a constant stream of man-at-arms. You can see the trail coming across the map there for Vortix. Looking good here for the Spaniards and the Mista. And there it is, there's the GG. Wham surrenders first there on the east, and then followed by puppypaw, and then kasva. The team in the south, Lucifron, Vortix and Mista, take this game on Golden Swap. I hope you guys enjoyed this casted game, and if you did, do give it a thumbs up. Take care, and see you next time.